All right, so once you've created your own apps and you're ready to put them onto the App Store, what do you do then? How do you go about it? Well, it's actually pretty easy for iOS. And with Apple, step one is always pay them some money. So, in order to be able to list your apps on the App Store for sale, you have to sign up for the Apple Developer Program. And that is a $99 per year commitment, which is not much depending on how much you make off the App Store. And that will give you some superpowers, including being able to develop more than 3 apps per week, for example. So essentially, most of your Xcode limits that you've seen in previous tutorials with free accounts disappear. So your code signing are valid. So your provisioning profiles for your apps are valid for a year at a time. So if you install a testing app onto your phone, you don't have to reinstall it from Xcode every week as you do with the free accounts. So once you've signed up for the Apple developer account, and I strongly urge anybody who's thinking about doing this to wait until they're ready to put their first app onto the App Store. Because as with all app projects, your estimate of how long it takes is usually a lot shorter than how long it actually takes. So given that you're buying into a yearly recurring subscription, I would recommend to just wait until you're actually ready to put it on the App Store. And then once you are ready, and once you sign up as an Apple developer, you get access to iTunes Connect. And this is the main portal that you'll be using to upload new apps, manage previous versions of apps, update your apps, check out the analytics in terms of how many people are using it, where are most of your users based, all of that kind of stuff. And you can look at, of course, sales and trends, look at how much money you're making per day or per week. Then you can look at the payments, financials, as well as define users and roles. So the rest of them are pretty self-explanatory, but when you're ready to upload your app, the one that you want to head into is My Apps. And then once you're here, you want to click the Add button to add a new app. So you select the platform that you want to target, you give your app a name, and your name has to be unique on the App Store. So just search for it on the App Store first. It avoids you having to refill this form. So if you had a name like Hello, then it's probably quite likely that somebody else has named an app called Hello. So increasingly, you're seeing longer and longer app names. Apple's guidance is that your name shouldn't be a load of keywords. So I think you get something like 100 characters, but don't try to fill it all up because it gets truncated on the App Store and it's actually frowned upon to have just a bunch of keywords, like say if you were a weight loss app, calling your app weight loss, weight loss, weight loss, weight loss is not going to endear you to anybody, essentially. Give it something that people can actually remember and recognize. Okay, so the next thing is that you choose your primary language so that it knows how to format your listing. And then you choose a bundle ID, and this is very important. The bundle ID is this part of your app, and once you've signed your app using your developer account, that bundle ID should show up somewhere in this drop-down list. Now, if it doesn't, then you'll have to go to the developer portal and add it manually, and Apple guides you through that. But in most cases, you'll see it show up over here. Now, the next thing is the SKU, or the stock keeping unit, and that is something that is just for your reference only. It's just a way of giving each app a unique ID amongst all your other apps so that you can identify it. And finally, you can limit user access. So you can say that maybe the developer doesn't get to change the bank account that the money gets paid into, etc. And finally, once you're ready and once you've satisfied all of these requirements, then you can go and hit create. Now, once you've successfully created an app, then you get taken to this page. And here you can change the category in which to put your app. You can update a privacy policy URL. You can change the bundle ID. You can set the pricing, so how much you want to charge for the app, whether if you want to set any sales periods, whether if there's a volume discount, etc. But the most important part is here. This is the part where you submit most of the information for your app. And one of the things that you need to provide are screenshots for your app. So in the app marketing course, we go into detail about how to optimize your screenshots for maximum downloads. And we talk about that quite a lot over there. So I'm not going to repeat that, but essentially you just need to upload screenshots of your app whilst in use to specify what should get shown on the App Store listing of your app. And then you enter a description. So in here, you're going to want to put in some of the keywords that you want to target a couple of times. And you also have a 100-character keyword field. And if you remember from the app marketing modules, we spoke about how to do keyword research, how to do App Store optimization, and how to try and rank highly for your target keywords. And then you're going to submit your build. So the build will show up here once you've submitted it using Xcode or using Application Loader. So in order to do that, you first have to connect a physical device. So make sure that you've got your physical device plugged in and connected, and you should build your app to your physical device and make sure that it works. Then next, you want to go to Product and you want to hit Archive, and that's going to archive your project. And this takes a little bit of time, but once it's done, it'll show you a pop-up. So once that's complete, then it's going to take you to an archive of your project. And at this point, you want to first hit validate just to make sure that everything checks out and Xcode is happy with you. And then you want to just go ahead and click upload to App Store. Then you select the development team, which is of course your account with Apple Developer License. Hit choose. And then it's just asking you, do you want to send this project to Apple? And you can go ahead and hit upload. Now, once you do, it's going to start a long and arduous process of uploading your app to Apple servers. And that process can take anywhere between 10 minutes to an hour, and I've had everything in between. Depending on the size of your project, depending on the complexity of your project, that process can take a while. So don't be in a rush when you're at this stage, basically. And once your app has been uploaded and Xcode is telling you that everything succeeded, then if you wait for about 5 to 10 minutes after that, after you get the green tick mark from Xcode, then it should show up over here in your list of builds. Now that will depend on whether you selected the right bundle ID right in the beginning. So making sure that your bundle ID under the general information is the same as the bundle ID in your Xcode. And all going well, you'll see your version of your app appear here and you can select it. Next, you have to upload an app icon, and this has to be, I think, 1024 by 1024 pixels. And again, before you make your app icon, please have a look at the app marketing module so that you can figure out how to optimize that icon for the most number of downloads and increase your chances of getting more revenue. Now finally, app review information. This is not public at all. This is basically where you put down some contact information so that if your review does not pass, they know who to contact and they can email you and tell you to fix something in your app. And historically, Apple have been pretty militant with their reviews. They are very serious about their review guidelines, and you should definitely read them if you have not already, and I'll link to it in the text below this video. It includes things like the App Store is not a place for your Hello World apps. And if you are a new developer and you've just built something that's terrible, don't upload it to the App Store. I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially that was the gist. But anyways, this is for your app review information, and this box is actually very, very useful. Most people think that it's notes, like what are notes? But this is actually a place where you can write something that shows up for the app reviewer when they're reviewing your app. So it can be really useful to point them towards certain things and reduce delays in your review process. So for example, if you implement in-app purchases in your app, you have to have a restore purchases button. So if the user updates their OS or if they upgrade their phone, etc., that they can reclaim all of their paid in-app purchases. And sometimes some Apple reviewers really have problems finding that restore button. So that could be something that you might want to write to them. Just say, on this screen you'll find the button on the bottom left corner, etc. And trust me, in the past I've had 5 to 10 emails just batting back and forth about a button and where it is located. So it can be really useful to anticipate these problems. And finally, you've got a release option. So whether if you want to release it on a particular date, if you've got a big press release coming out on a certain day, you might want to time your app release with that, etc. So that is the gist of how you upload an app to the App Store. And this process can take anywhere between 1 hour to 10 hours. And never underestimate how much work it takes to complete these fields. So give yourself plenty of time. Make sure that you've got your screenshots and your app icon ready, and you've got your optimized keywords and your description as well, so that you don't end up typing it on the spot, because that'll usually result in a less than optimal outcome.